Well, thank you, Marcos. And obviously, it is tragic for any Greek American not to come to Greece for a conference. So, first and foremost, I have to say how sorry I am not to be there in person with so many great friends, including a number right here on the stage. Ian Lesser, how are you? And Marcos, my dear friend from your days as the first ambassador spouse of Hungary when we worked together when I was NATO Commander, and big hugs and kisses to Madam Lieutenant Governor from her favorite admiral. What I thought I might do is talk about risk, and in particular, I want to pick up two threads, one from Ian and the other from the minister. In terms of Ian's comments a moment ago, I just want to reinforce, in my view, and as you would imagine, I follow this extremely closely, the U.S. is not going anywhere out of Europe. And there are a wide number of reasons for that, but it also includes the simple fact that our best pool of partners, with all due respect to our wonderful alliances in the Pacific, our best and biggest pool of partners is right here on this continent. And of course, when you add to it the challenge of Putin's behavior, it only magnifies the importance of this. And for those who say the US is headed to the Pacific, I suspect our European colleagues will be engaging in the Pacific with us. We need to recall that Russia is a Pacific power. China certainly is. It's going to require engagement by our European allies and the United States working together in that region. And in the face of the current invasion, of course, we're seeing a significant addition of U.S. combat power to the continent to include a forward 3-star headquarters going into Poland. Boy, I wish I'd had access to that when I was Supreme Allied Commander. The movement of brigade combat teams forward, the addition of Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers in Rhoda, which will be operating often in the Eastern Mediterranean, new joint strike fighter squadrons going into the United Kingdom. So from my perspective, the U.S. is not going anywhere. And I think we will continue to be deeply engaged, not only in Europe with the challenges here, but also in terms of further activities and the management of risk in the Pacific as well. The second point I want to make stems from Ukraine and picking up comments that both the minister and Ian Lesser made about the region and the possibility for instability, and also picking up a bit of the previous panel with my dear friend Benny Gantz. I want to focus in on grain, on food coming out of Ukraine, or more to the point, not coming out of Ukraine. I think that is deeply concerning, not only to the Ukrainian economic situation and the chances of Ukraine continuing this conflict in an effective way, which they have certainly done thus far with our help. But if we can't unlock this illegal blockade that Putin has made of the North Sea, and at this moment we are effectively ceding control of the water space of the Black Sea to Vladimir Putin, I think that's a mistake. And the knock-on effect of not getting that grain out will be food insecurity, potentially food riots, more instability, especially in North Africa and the Middle East. So one thing I have been encouraging our leaders to think about and talk about is potentially unlocking that blockade and doing it in a way that is as minimally confrontational as possible. And I think that would be to clear the minefields that have been put in place and escort these grain tankers out of Odessa through Ukrainian waters and international waters, going nowhere near Russian waters, and taking them down through the Bosphorus and to their waiting, hungry populations. It's a humanitarian mission. It could be done with, if necessary, naval escorts. And historically, we've done exactly that in the 1980s when we the United States in that case, escorted Kuwaiti oil tankers out of the Strait of Hormuz, which the Iranians were seeking to close. It was quite effective as a maneuver, a tactical and a strategic maneuver. It helped with energy. And by the way, young Lieutenant Stavridis, and in those days I had a great head of hair like Marcus does. In those days, I was in charge of several of those convoy operations. We have the precedent to do it. We have the capability to do it. We have the motive to do it. I think it's time to seriously consider that for the impact on the global food security situation and also on the Ukrainian economy. So I'll stop there, Marcos, with those two thoughts, which we can address and debate as we continue this wonderful conversation. Thanks for having me.